hello, and welcome to Arts and Entertainment. I'm Deborah Gilbert, your host, and as always, thanks so much for being here. I hope you enjoy the show. Well, we're going to highlight the Palante Theater, which is based in Waterbury, Connecticut. You may remember it. I highlighted it probably about a year ago, so we'll get some updates as to what's happening. And a special update is Isaiah Santiago, the new artistic director, and he's here to share all of what's happening there, and I know that you'll love to get to know him. And Isaiah, thank you so much for being here.
Of course, thank you so much for having me.
And I'm glad you made the trip. It's so nice to have you at the station.
Yeah, absolutely. When you gave me the option to either do it on Zoom or come in, I said, no, I'll come in. I'll definitely come in.
What the viewer enjoys and what I like to do in the beginning of the program is introduce the viewer to the guest. So why don't you take us back into your background, introduce yourself to us.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am born and bred in the Bronx, New York. That is where I've lived all of my life up until 2020. That's where I met with my wife. We had our two beautiful children there. I've pretty much been involved in the arts ever since I was small. and from what I can remember, doing shows in the church to performing and being behind the scenes in high school shows. I graduated from Bronx Theater High School, which was in the city, which was in collaboration actually with the Roundabout Theater Company. And I actually worked there as a technical director.
Sure.
And for a couple of years while I was in high school. After that, graduated, went to the College of Westchester. Although I didn't do theater in college, I did do theater in community college and the local church, Harvest Fields Community Church. And did pretty much everything there. Everything short of directing, I should say. And from there, I pretty much just stood in the artist eye, as I like to call it. It was always a love of mine, a passion of mine. And then finally, when COVID came around and interest rates dropped on houses, my wife and I decided, you know what, this is the time to get out and see what God has in store for us, what the world has for us, and more importantly, for our kids. So we made the trip up to Naugatuck, Connecticut. I found a job working at the Shakespearean Productions in downtown Waterbury. Worked there as managing director for a couple of years. Did some really great, amazing stuff. We just finished Romeo and Juliet in the park. That was amazing. And then it was also a blessing because I was able to meet Rafael Feliciano, who is the founder of the Afro-Caribbean Cultural Center in downtown Waterbury, literally right around the block. And I was a board member for the Arts and Culture Collaborative, and that's how I was able to meet him. He was also a board member. Got to talking, did a little bit of collaboration, and in September of this year, he asked me to come on board as the artistic director for the Palante Theater Company, and I gladly said yes.
The Shakespearean endeavor that you did as the managing director, what were your responsibilities there? What is it, before we talk about Palante, what brought you through that process of coming into Connecticut?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I moved to Connecticut with my wife, we were both actually working in the city, in New York. And we would make that commute every day. And ultimately, because of COVID, I was laid off due to budget cuts. But that, like I said, gave me kind of a blank slate, an opportunity to look back at myself and say, okay, what is it that I want to do with my life going forward? And something that my father-in-law had asked me, he said, well, what is it that you want to do? You know, you have a degree, you went to school for theater, you and my daughter, my wife, you know, what you should be doing that. You should be opening up your own theater company. You should be doing this and doing that. And I kind of shut it down. I was like, yeah, okay. But it kept eating at me. And I said, you know what? Let me research online what theaters are in Connecticut. Because, of course, being a New York City native, we're always biased and naive as to everything that's outside of New York City. And so I went to searching and I found Shakespearean Productions was hiring a managing director. And it's funny because I was actually looking at the description of things to do and the roles and responsibilities. And I said, well, yeah, I know how to do that. Oh, I definitely know how to do that. Oh yes, this is definitely what I can do. And I applied, met with them, Jeff and Emily, amazing people. Atmosphere was amazing, and yeah, they welcomed me into the organization. And my roles and responsibilities there was just basically to make sure that the day-to-day was running smoothly, with their programs that they had for both kids and adults alike, and the tours that they would do in the schools, and ultimately the bigger summer productions that were up in Litchfield Hills, free for the public. And so managing that and making sure everything was set up for that with both the actors and then behind the stage, making sure that everything ran smoothly and the director Emily was happy, and that everybody had a learning experience. Basically, they like to call it a Shakespearean. Everybody has a Shakespearean.
Palante Theater, there are probably many viewers that are saying, I know Waterbury, but I have never really heard of the theater. Tell us about it and also the center that it's a part of.
Yeah, absolutely. So Palante Theater is actually not entirely brand new. It is in its second season, and it is a couple of years old, but what Rafael Feliciano, the founder of the Afro-Caribbean Cultural Center, likes to say is that this is Palante 2.0. And essentially what that means is that Palante, in its early stages, specifically last year, they had one touring show called Calling Puerto Rico, which was directed by Juan Ramirez Jr., which we'll get to probably in a little bit, but he is actually directing and playwriting some of the other works that are in this current season and will then be in next season. But they were touring all over the states, from the Bushnell, the Warner, Seven Angels. I was able to see it with my wife at Seven Angels, and we loved it. And I said, Rafael, I have some pointers. I would love to work with you in the future. And then here I am now. But Palante Theater is a program of the Afro-Caribbean Culture Center and is very much involved in what that organization holds dear. Our mission is pretty much just to unapologetically tell the stories of the community that is either misinterpreted or does not have the voice as loud as it should be. And that is for the Afro-Latino community, the LGBTQ plus community, the Hispanic community. And we really just want to tell those stories and really get the public's eye of, hey, we're not so different, you and I. There's things that we go through that you also go through. Let us tell our stories. And it gives a lot of the opportunity for Waterbury residents who may not have the opportunities outside of their town or city or community to be able to share their voice, to see themselves on stage, or to see themselves represented in a way that tells them, wow, I can actually do something outside of whatever shortcomings or anything that I kind of put myself in a box about.
Probably people are saying, oh my goodness, you're the new artistic director and Palante now has its own space. Tell us about the new space.
Yes, I'm excited. We are excited. Palante Theater did not have a space to call home. We were essentially a traveling theater company. And now that we have a space to call home at 158 Grand Street in downtown Waterbury, which is in place of the old John Bale bookstore, is a massive 4-story building, beautiful, beautiful historic building in downtown Waterbury. And the Afro-Caribbean Cultural Center will actually be on the 2nd floor of that building, and Palante Theater and Cafe will be on the 1st floor of that building. So we're super excited, and it is a black box, essentially, literally walls, ceiling, floor, all black, because it allows us to transform the space into, from a cafe in the morning to an event space at night or on the weekends. We really want to see it as a multi-use space to be able to not only show performances every weekend, but to also open the space to the public for the comedy nights, worship nights, drag brunches, poetry slams, concerts. We want to really be able to utilize the space, and I like to say Palante Theater is a theater without walls, essentially. Right? We have a black box theater physically to be able to present what we need and what we want, but essentially it is just a community effort at this point, what Palante is.
Your title now is Artistic Director. What are your responsibilities?
Everything under the sun. No.
That's usually what the artistic directors who come here say, the same thing. It's everything.
It's everything from the editing the website to making sure that the grants are set up, because we are still a nonprofit under the Afro-Caribbean Cultural Center, to making sure that the actors are set up for success, to curating the season, to making sure that the theater is up and running the way it should be, running smoothly, and pretty much just all the nuts and bolts of everything that goes into a performance, into an organization, and I would say all the financial stuff, that's all handled by someone else. Thank the Lord, because I can handle everything else.
The theater, you're doing something. Okay, we're October. You said you have a performance in November. Have you thought about your season, 2024, 2025? How do you put it together?
That's a very good question. Essentially because that is what I'm doing right now as we speak. I'm not entirely sure how Raphael put it together, but I know for myself going forward, one of the things that we want to have as a staple is the Afro-Latino Film Festival, that we want to have that as a staple every year. Whether it moves around in the calendar, that's up to what we want to decide. But for me, I like to choose works or pieces that represent the community. If there is a specific work that a community member says, you know what, I would really love for you to perform this, or I would really love to see this come alive on stage, or even comes to me, I'm open for anything. I'm not one of those directors who are just like, no, it's my way or the highway. No. This is a community effort, and although I am the artistic director, I'm essentially just a leader for everyone who is in the community. And so, spoiler alert, I do have a little bit of an idea of what I want to do for the next season, and I think I want to open it up with a true crime performance. I know that's really something big nowadays, especially on Netflix. Everything is all true crime. My wife loves true crime, and so it was something that was something that I saw, and I said, wow, this is has some Afro-Latina characters in it. It deals with the everyday struggles that the community has. I said, you know what, I think I want to throw in a little bit of mystery and drama in here. But it's definitely going to have a lot of comedy, a lot of drama. Definitely, we're going to try to squeeze in a musical or two if we can.
Yeah.
That's definitely one of our goals. And yeah, I think what goes into just choosing a season is really just to tap into the community and see where we're at, see what the community is hungry for, see what stories are misrepresented, and see where we go from there.
Okay, we're going to take a break. I'm Deborah Gilbert, and you are tuned in to Arts and Entertainment. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back. And welcome back to Arts and Entertainment. I'm Deborah Gilbert, your host, and my conversation continues on with Isaiah Santiago. And Isaiah, we had talked during the break about the website. What will the viewer find when they go to palantetheater.org?
Well, first and foremost, what you're going to find up in front and center is our mission statement. It tells us who we are, what we're here to do, how we can help, right? And you will be able to navigate through the website and find our box office with the full season and full descriptions of what each show is. You can find the ticket prices there, the dates, the locations, and you can ultimately also buy a season pass for all of the performances that we will be having there at the Black Box. You will also be able to find some information on the Afro-Caribbean Cultural Center with links to that separate website, and of course the Palante Cafe, which we hopefully will have soon with little menus. Won't be everything in the world, but it will be something for everyone.
I have a lot of actors and performers
Yeah.
and technical directors, etc., watching this program.
Absolutely.
How will they be able to present themselves to you? Can they do that through your website? Do they call you? How can they get involved?
Yeah, absolutely. We're always looking for, first of all, we're always looking for volunteers. That's just something that every nonprofit, of course, always needs. Volunteers from from ushering to building sets to running the lights and sound, and setting up for even outside events and the tours. We're always going to need help. So that is something you can reach out to if you're interested in doing that. Everything is found on our website. You can actually also email us at info@palantetheater.org, which goes, of course, straight to me and some of our other team members, but you will always get a response ASAP. If you're interested in acting for any of the roles, we are still currently looking for actors for the remainder of this season. So the only show that has been casted so far is World Classic, which is our first show that is opening up at the Matitech Museum, which is just down the block from our Black Box. And you can find more information and tickets on the website. But for the other shows like Puerto Rican, Foxes, the New Works Festival, all of that information is also on our website, and we will be looking for audition dates soon. So if you're interested in acting, please let us know. We have a full list, and we're not just specifically looking for Afro-Latina, Hispanic actors. It is literally open to everyone. We're just highlighting those stories.
Oh, that's so good to know that
Yes.
everybody is welcome
Of course.
to be able to be a part of this fabulous new endeavor.
Right, it is. I mean, we're not going to just shut it down to a certain population. No, our stories are everyone's stories, right? And like I said in the beginning, you and I are probably no different. You know, we just need to get to know each other a little bit. You know, some of my stories are some of your stories, and that's how community grows, and that's how we continue to help each other to survive and to love on each other, because that's what this world needs more of, right? We need more inclusivity, not separation. And so that is essentially, Palante is a safe space to be able to tell those stories, to be able to come together, to laugh together, to cry together, to be angry together, you know, and to find ways to look forward and move forward. Hence, Palante, which is what that means.
There you go.
Yes.
And people are listening who are our filmmakers and also the people that like to attend film festivals. You mentioned film festival.
Yes.
What is that all about?
So the Afro-Latino Film Festival, we are in our second year of doing that. It is slated for January of 2025. And the Afro-Latino Film Festival, we usually pick films, about 40 in general, over the span of a couple of days. Sometimes it'll be one weekend, sometimes it'll be 2 weekends, but essentially we will have all of that information, of course, on the website. So if you are interested in either submitting a film for the film festival, please do so. Send it over to us so that we can take a look at it. We could definitely speak. I'm always open to driving, of course, all the way from Waterbury, anywhere that I am needed. But yeah, we are, of course, always open to everything and collaborating, and that's just what we're all about.
Your future.
Yes.
You're now a new person with this organization that also has a new home.
Yes.
We're at the end of 2024, looking into 2025. What's your vision for the next year, 2, 3 years? Have you thought about your future?
I have. the vision for me personally is to grow so much in this season, or in this organization, where I will have just a multitude of people to be able to help, to be able to reach out to the community, to be able to run events, and to ultimately have fun with it. I want Palante to be a pretty much a family name at this point, right? I want it to be on everyone's phones, laptops, TVs. I want people to come to the show not only to see a show, but to feel heard, to feel involved. And I want to say my 10-year goal for this company, for Palante, is to open up a Palante black box in every major city in Connecticut.
Oh, wow.
Yes, because
Fabulous.
Yeah, Hartford, Bridgeport, New Haven, Stamford, Westbrook.
Yeah, right.
I definitely want that for, of course, not for just myself, but if somebody can't make it an hour to Waterbury to see one of the shows, they'll be able to go hopefully down the block or down the road to their local black box theater, which will hopefully be another Palante theater site.
Now, this is African, Latina, Hispanic, theme-oriented, if you will.
Yeah.
How is the larger public embracing all of this? Is it being accepted? It is a genre unto itself. Is it available to all of the people to come and see and enjoy?
Yeah, absolutely. We get that question quite a lot. And I guess to answer that truthfully, yes, it has been widely accepted. We have done tremendously well with Calling Puerto Rico, which essentially was a story about Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico and how that affected a family that was actually living in Connecticut, and kind of going back and forth. But that show was so powerful and so moving that the Bushnell picked it up, the Warner picked it up. It was performed at Seven Angels, and so these are communities that are not heavily based in an Afro-Latino community, and we were sold out every night. And one thing that I like to joke about is, you can never discredit a Latino, because they will show up in droves, right? They will support, and essentially that's what we thought would happen, and it was actually that and more. We found that the community of all different backgrounds came together to watch this show, laughing and crying, because they understood the empathy that was on stage. They understood the heartbreak, the loss, the demons that we all deal with. And that's why I say it's something for everyone, and so it doesn't discriminate against anyone. And to be able to, again, see yourself on stage was just something powerful to see.
The town of Waterbury,
Yes.
How is your relationship with that community?
Very, very well. Like I said, I've only been in the community for a very short time, but from what I can tell and from what I can see, you pretty much can't go down the block without shaking at least 50 hands and, thanking, people coming up to you and thanking you and just kind of offering their support in every aspect you can imagine, from setting up at events to donating their time, to donating money or goods for us to distribute to the community. It's something quite interesting to see how well the organization has been doing. But I mean, I guess we shouldn't be surprised, because that is our whole goal in the first place, right? To be a pillar of that community, and it's very much working its way to being there.
As we are starting to slowly run out of time,
Yeah.
How does it feel to not so much be a traveling theater, but now have your own space? Is it a good thing?
It's absolutely a good thing, because it gives us an opportunity to create more, to venture out and do more things, because, like I said, we can tour a performance, sure, it's the same thing going around, and while we have fun with it because it's something that we love, to actually have our own space to do other things like comedy nights and drag brunches and worship nights and poetry slams and concerts, it allows us to work through all aspects of the arts and not just theater. And so I think that's just a really fun and exciting venture to be on.
Briefly, because we
Yep.
have run out of time, what are your closing thoughts for the viewer?
Just to forget everything that you thought about theater and just be immersed in what the new age theater will be.
Well, I want to thank you very much for coming here and being with us today. All the very best, tremendous success. I hope
Thank
that
you.
it's a wonderful new journey for you.
Of course, and I hope so too. Thank you.
You're welcome. And thanks to all of you for being here today. I'm Deborah Gilbert. You're tuned in to Arts and Entertainment. In case you need to reach me, I'm at artsandentertainment@mail.com. Well, I hope you have a super day today. As always, thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.